Laughing hysterically, yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk about heat safety today. And this time of the year, through the end of July and through August, is when it's our hottest time of the year. It's going to be high 90s, and we'll get up into the hundreds a little bit. And that's when we're going to have the dangerous temperatures, when we can have heat illness and, you know, different heat safety or heat stress issues. Is it not working? The right arrow.
First glitch. What's on my push?
We having technical
Broke it
difficulties.
already.
Yeah, look at it, broke.
One job.
Oh, yeah, where's that button?
You don't have to worry about stumbling over one time.
I'm gonna be fever and trying to do it.
No, you don't want you to pay attention to this. Make sure you
Looks like the Dallas Cowboys.
ain't quite that. Oh, I'm going with the
There we go. All right, so heat stress happens when our body can't cool itself fast enough. And we have different side effects from heat stress, and some are minor, some can be really, really bad, can even be deadly. We can have muscle cramps or heat cramps, heat rash, dehydration, you can faint or get dizzy, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke, which is the worst, because that's fatal, can be fatal. So what's going to increase your risk of having a heat illness? Well, if you work in the hot, humid temperatures, if you're outside in the direct sun and no shade, if you're not drinking enough fluids, if you've had a previous heat-related illness, it's easier to have another one. If you have certain health problems or you take certain medications, my daughter actually takes a medication that she's been on most of her life that it won't let her release her heat and that she can't sweat very much. So we have to watch her to make sure she doesn't get overheated because it can happen really easy, really fast before you know it. All right, so let's go over some of the different heat illnesses. Heat cramps happen when your muscles spasm and because you've lost large amounts of water and salt. And it usually happens in your abdomen, your arms, or your calves. And if you're having heat cramps, you need to stop what you're doing and try to get to a cool place and drink some water or some kind of sports drink to try to replenish those fluids. And you need to rest until the cramps stop. You can have heat rash, which is when your sweat ducts get clogged. It's going to cause your skin to irritate and can cause a rash. And that's going to happen when you're working and sweating and your clothes get wet and it rubs your skin. It's going to cause that inflammation in those sweat ducts to clog. And those can get infected if you don't take care of them. They need to stay dry. Put some calamine lotion or something on them to keep them dry and clean. You can be dehydrated. That's a serious side effect, and it can get worse. You can have light, dehydration and get a lot worse if it's left untreated. And you get dehydrated when you can't replace your water, your fluids fast enough. If you're losing them, if you're sweating and soaking your clothes and you're not drinking stuff to replenish that, that's when it's going to get bad. And if you don't do something about it, it's going to just keep getting worse. You're going to go to the next. Here are some symptoms of dehydration. You have severe thirst, dry skin, fatigue, dizziness, dry mouth, increased heart rate or breathing, and muscle cramps. And if you don't take care of it, you can get the next heat illness, which would be fainting. So if you have increased blood flow, the blood is going to pool in your legs, and it's going to make your blood pressure drop. And that's what's going to make you feel dizzy or lightheaded and make you where you could faint. And if you or someone around you is feeling dizzy or feels like they're going to faint, you or that person need to get to a cool area and try to lay down and to cool off and increase your fluid intake. And the next step would be heat exhaustion, and that's a really serious condition. That's right before you go into heat stroke, which can be fatal. So once that dehydration happens, your body goes into overdrive, trying to cool yourself, trying to cool your body down. And as a result, it makes your fluids, you're going to lose fluids even faster than you were. It's going to make your blood pressure rise, and that's going to make you feel lightheaded and dizzy even more than you already are. You're going to have the same symptoms as dehydration and the muscle cramps, but you can have headache with that, you can have cool, pale, and clammy skin. You can feel nausea, or you can actually get sick, fatigue, rapid or weak pulse, dizziness, muscle cramps, and severe thirst. And I have a story to go along with this I'm going to tell off on James. 3-4 weeks ago, one Friday afternoon, it was really hot outside, picked him up to go home in the afternoon. He's got too hot. He said, I don't feel right, my ears are stopped up, I feel dizzy, I'm real thirsty. So he drinks my water on the way home. I tell him to take his shoes and his socks off and roll his pants up and turn the air on, trying to get him to cool down on our ride home. By the time we got home, he felt better. He thought he was pulling out of it. He thought he just got a little too hot and needed to drink some water. So he went to go play golf, meet some friends. He said, I'll be fine. He wasn't gone very long, and he come back home, and he's like, I'm getting sick. I'm really dizzy, really worse than I was. I don't feel right. So started giving him Pedialyte and some liquid IV and waters, and took his blood pressure. I called a friend that's a nurse and asked if there's something else I could do. And she said, just take his blood pressure and watch him. His blood pressure was really low, and so just kept pushing those fluids. He got muscle cramps really bad, and was crying like a baby. Kept some fluids. His blood pressure finally got normal again, and he was feeling better. So the next morning when he gets up, his legs were they cramped so hard that he looked like he was learning how to walk down the hall the next morning. It was a lot of pain. It took all weekend for him to get over it. He was really just wore out this the whole weekend. Finally by Monday, he's kind of back to his old self. So it can get really bad. If he would have stopped and not went and played golf, he would have just probably been dehydrated a little bit, got over it pretty quick, but he didn't listen and he went on. So the next step would be heat stroke. That's when it gets really bad. That's when your body temperature rises above 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and your internal systems will start to shut down. So if you're outside, and it's not just work, if you're exercising, whatever you're doing, and you think, I can just push through it, I'll be fine, I don't need to stop and get a drink of water, I can work through this. You really need to stop. You need to get that water back in your system, and so you can not dehydrate yourself and turn into something that you need to go to the hospital for. Because a heat stroke, it can be fatal, so you're going to need medical attention if it gets to that point. And symptoms of a heat stroke are going to be the same as dehydration and heat exhaustion, but you may have a throbbing headache, you may be confused and have loss of coordination. Your body temperature is going to be high, so if you touch your skin, it's going to be hot, and you're going to be able to feel, it's going to be dry, you're going to be able to feel the heat because your body temperature is so high. And so if you're suffering from those symptoms, you need to go and see a doctor, go to a hospital. So how do you protect yourself from heat illness? You need to monitor your condition, and the people you're working with, you need to watch them too. They may not realize they're having symptoms, and you may see something in them and I think he's getting too hot. We need to take a break and get some water. And if you're feeling this effects that somebody may not see, if you're feeling dizzy or you've got a headache, you might want to say, I think I'm getting a little too hot, need a break for a minute. And if it's possible, you need to try to do your hot work in the coolest part of the day. I know that's not always possible here, but if you know you're going to do something, lay asphalt or do something that's going to be really hot, you may try to do that early if you can. And take more breaks when it's hot. If it's really hot and you're doing a heavy job, stop and take more breaks. Make sure you get the fluids in that you need. And when you do take the breaks, go to a shaded area or a cool area if that's possible. And avoid drinks with caffeine. So if you're drinking Mountain Dew all day, that's not helping you. You need some water, you need some Gatorade, you need something that's going to get those fluids back in your system. So basic hot weather tips: stay hydrated. If you don't drink when you're thirsty, just keep drinking steadily all day long. And avoid coffee, tea, soda, alcohol. Those are gonna dehydrate you. Wear protective clothing like lightweight, light-colored, loose-fitting clothes, which for the most part, that's what the uniforms are. And take frequent breaks in shaded, cool areas. And wear sunscreen, because if you get sunburned, that's gonna dehydrate you, and that's gonna make your body temperature hot too, so it's gonna be even harder for you to cool down. You wanna make sure that your sunscreen has both UVA and UVB protection, because UVA rays can go deep into your skin. That's what causes you to wrinkle and show aging, and UVA rays can go through glass. UVB rays do not go as deep into your skin, but that's what causes sunburns, freckles, to get red. It can also cause skin mutations, and that's what leads to skin cancers. And it cannot go through glass. It won't go through like a glass on your vehicle, like a UVA ray. So here's some fun Arkansas heat facts. The warmest temperature ever recorded in Arkansas was 120 degrees Fahrenheit in 1936 in Ozark. And the hottest recorded temperature in Little Rock was 111 degrees Fahrenheit on August 30th of 2000. And Little Rock had the hottest summer ever in 2010, and that's when we broke a most consecutive days record. We had 90 degrees or above for 60 consecutive days, and that beat the record of 1980 with 57 consecutive days. Hopefully we don't do that again anytime soon. I know a lot of you have probably already seen this video, but it's like a minute and a half long, and it's pretty good.
Summer is here and it's getting hot. As temperatures and humidity rise, it's important to be prepared for the dangers of working in the heat. Dozens of workers die every year due to working in the heat, and thousands become ill. Most work-related heat deaths occur in the first few days of working in the heat. That's why it's important for employers to allow workers to gradually build that tolerance to the heat, whether they are a new, temporary, or even seasoned worker. Heat illness can affect anyone, no matter how old you are or what shape you are in. Symptoms include headache, nausea, dizziness, weakness, irritability, confusion, thirst, heavy sweating, and a body temperature greater than 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit. But heat illness can be prevented with 3 simple steps: water, rest, shade. Drink water every 15 minutes, even if you're not thirsty. Rest in the shade to cool down. Wear a hat and light-colored clothing. Workers can stay safe and healthy if we watch out for their health and remember 3 simple words: water, rest, and shade. Taking these precautions can mean the difference between life and death.
There's also an app. I think it's on the tablets. I talked about it last year on one of the videos I did. You gotta hit the.
You got this, look out. You got this. I got that problem.
Okay, here's the app I talked about last year on one of the videos. It's on the tablets. It's going to tell you what the heat index for our location is. It's going to give you the signs and symptoms if you're having a heat-related illness. It's going to explain those. It's going to give you first aid instructions on what to do. And it's also going to give you the precautions to take for the area you're in. So like I looked at ours, we're in moderate risk, so it listed what you could do to, our precautions to take for our area right now. And it's free for all the phones. If you have any questions, I will try to answer.